Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the first SourceAbled India Inclusive Summit 2022, a 6-day intense summit with talks, masterclasses, showcases, and virtual job fairs geared towards disability, diversity, and inclusion in the workplace. Please join us every day at 5:30 as we learn, ideate, and explore about this space in India. We are going to have an amazing session with welcome addresses, keynote speeches, a message from our COO at Rangam, and a corporate showcase to close out the day. To start with, I'd like to have Nesh Parikh, co-founder and CEO of Rangam, and Hetal Parikh, co-founder and president of Rangam, to give us a welcome address.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome,
It gives me
welcome and namaskar. Hello, everyone.
it gives me great pleasure to kick off this amazing Inclusive India Summit. We have some exciting activities lined up during these intensive 6-day events. It will include hybrid job fair, virtual master classes, panel discussions, presentations, corporate showcases, and live Q&A from esteemed, profound thought leaders from the disability inclusion, disability self-advocates, researchers, academics, social entrepreneurs, founders, and C-suite executives.
It is an exciting moment for Hetal, me, and the entire Rangam team. We have been talking about this for a while, for almost a decade, and a little bit about us and our why, and a little bit of story, how we started this journey of empathetic innovation in the area of disability inclusion. Hetal and I, we were talking to a friend, and we learned that in the special needs schools, when at the time of the graduation, high school graduation, parents are sitting in the parking lot waiting and are worried what is going to happen next week Monday morning when there is no school. And the challenges starts from that point onwards, and we started learning from India and our network from the disability community in India. Of course, it's very different. This story, our journey started in United States, but parallel as we were developing solutions for the disability community and autism community in United States, we started partnering and collaborating with amazing leaders, thought leaders, NGOs, doing some amazing work. And through this journey of learning, what we saw that there is an opportunity for us to bring our expertise from United States to India. And I was just a couple of days back, I was talking to one of my colleague from Rangam India team, and I can see that excitement, that because we've been working on this for last decade, and we have not done, I would say, more formal, intense work in this area in India. And this is an opportunity. And the way I see this is a great start. We all know things have been changing in last 2 years. And the goal here is how do we leverage that even play field, which has been created due to the pandemic, when the people without disability and people with disability, they are at the same play field. And we all at one point became disabled. What is disability? Disability is just certain things we are not able to do, what others are able to do. And we were forced in those circumstances. So bottom line, things have changed.
Well said and well put, Nish. Despite everything that's been going on around us for the last 2 years, we must not forget that every dark cloud has a silver lining. And the current situation has presented us with a great opportunity to rethink and reimagine how we perceive challenges and how we overcome them with planning and deliberation. It has brought to the fore untapped talent with disabilities and autism who can do great work from anywhere. All they need is a little support and assistance to do and be their best. This event will help find the talent and connect them to sustainable and rewarding career opportunities. So we're excited.
The summit will open up discussions around disability inclusion in corporate India. SourceAble will bring in global disability inclusion expertise, best practices to address the most pressing challenges facing contemporary Indian workplace. And of course, we all know, when we talk about disability and inclusion and hiring processes, uh, India has its own flavor and its own challenges, and but the pandemic and the last few years, this has made significant progress over the and including last decade. This progress has really improved the disability awareness, autism awareness, while increasing the accessibility and reducing inequality globally.
And as part of our global diversity, equity, and inclusion roadmap, which is aligned with Rungam's overall mission to promote meaningful employment for everyone, we are proud to introduce SourceAble and expand our footprint in India.
SourceAble is Rangam's DEI. I would say it started with the personal connection. So I would say DEI initiatives, but then we really got into DEI solution. How do we build DEI solution developed through collaborations with NGOs, universities, academias, global employer partners, etc. So that's SourceAble is is and also I would say SourceAble is constantly evolving. It uses a consultative approach to best practices, effective training, and end-to-end tech-enabled hiring platform to attract, hire, onboard, support, and most importantly, retain qualified neurodivergent talent and individuals with other visible and invisible disabilities. In a short span of 4 years, it has emerged as a trusted guide for forward-thinking business employers looking into design, implement, and sustain diversity inclusion in the workplace. So disability inclusion in workplace. It has fostered an environment of empathy, which is me and Hethel and we all at Rangam are big champions. We truly believe empathy drives innovation every single day at Rangam. And collaboration in which people with disability, autism, and other forms of neurodivergence receive the necessary support and accommodations to reach their full potentials and become successful contributing member of the society.
And thank you. Hope you will all enjoy this event and some amazing, great conversations with some of the wonderful thought leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nish and Hital. Thank you so very much for this amazing welcome speech. Uh, Now we have the upcoming event, which will be the keynote address from Dr. Lawrence Fung. Dr. Fung is director of the Stanford Neurodiversity Project. Dr. Fung is a scientist, a psychiatrist, and he strives to uncover the strengths of neurodiverse individuals and utilize their talents to increase innovation and productivity of the society as a whole. He directs the Neurodiverse Student Program, Neurodiversity at Work program, and Adult Neurodevelopment Clinic at Stanford. His team devises and implements novel interventions to improve the lives of neurodiverse individuals by maximizing their potential and productivity. His current study is to demonstrate that specialized employment programs, such as Neurodiversity at Work program, will result in higher retention and rates of quality of life. I would like to welcome Dr. Lawrence Fung to give us his keynote address. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank Nish Parekh, Katal Parekh, and James Mahoney for inviting me to this SourceAbled Inclusive India Summit 2022. It is quite a pleasure for me to share what we have been doing in the last few years. In particular, we have built the strength-based model of neurodiversity and also the Stanford Neurodiversity project. So today, I will quickly talk about these topics, and I hope you enjoy it. Neurodiversity is really about a concept that regards people with differences in their brain function and behavioral traits as part of normal variation of the human population. When we talk about neurodiverse conditions, we often refer to autism, dyslexia, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. It is very, very common to see individuals that have autism in our midst. The prevalence now has increased to 2.3%. Dyslexia is much more common, 13 and 14%. ADHD is somewhere in between, 5 to 7%. Many individuals on the autism spectrum or have traits of autism have been really changing the world over the years. Here are a group of physicists such as Einstein and Isaac Newton, and some biologists here, some artists here, some writers and entertainers. One thing in common about all of them, they're all very passionate about what they are doing, and because of that, they get into the depth of the knowledge in that particular field and really change the world for the good because of their passion. This group, next group of people do not have autism, they have ADHD. What they all have to say is that if they don't have the ADHD, they would not be as successful as they are. And then this third group of individuals are also very distinguished, and they have dyslexia. And some of them, they do not even overcome typical hurdles. They overcome the hurdles that define dyslexia. So they basically use their intrinsic weakness and make it a strength for them. So neurodiversity has become a competitive advantage. And with this positive model, positive way of thinking about neurodiversity, we built this strength-based model of neurodiversity, which has these components: positive psychology, positive psychiatry, self-determination theory, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, and Chickering's 7 factors of development. We consider neurodiverse conditions as conditions rather than disorder, and acknowledge challenges instead of deficits, and applied strength-based model across the entire spectrum of neurodiverse conditions. A little bit more about each component. Positive psychology was founded as a field by Martin Seligman and Mahai Csikszentmihalyi. They defined the core of positive psychology as well-being, contentment, satisfaction. Flow is immersing oneself in activity and get satisfaction and happiness out of it. And other cores of positive psychology are hope and optimism. So in the last 20 years, there are 53 published definitions of positive psychology. And to boil down to 3 statements, they are right here. And to boil down to 3 words: strengths, fulfillment, and growth. The next component of the strength-based model is positive psychiatry. It's very different from traditional psychiatry, which focus on risk factors and pathology, which is what's wrong. Positive psychiatry focuses on positive attributes and strengths, protective factors, and neuroplasticity. In terms of treatment, Traditional psychiatry focuses on symptom relief by medications and short-term psychotherapies. Positive psychiatry is really about psychoeducational interventions to increase well-being, growth, which can enhance positive attributes in people and will last for a lifespan, which is becoming a preventative approach instead of a reactive approach in traditional psychiatry. The next component is theory of multiple intelligences, which includes some of the typical domains of intelligence that we think of in IQ tests: visual spatial, verbal linguistics, and logical mathematical domains. But Howard Gardner at Harvard University expanded the domains to other areas such as musical rhythmic, bodily kinesthetic, naturalistic. Interpersonal is basically ability to relate with other people. Intrapersonal is the ability to understand self, and existential ability to appreciate, the ability to appreciate your own existence, the community's existence, the world, the universe's existence, etc. The last domain, the last component of the strength-based model is the Chickering 7 vectors of development. They are the developmental milestones that adolescents and young adults have to achieve in order to become a real full adult. So they include developing competence, managing emotions, moving through autonomy toward interdependence, not only independence, developing mature interpersonal relationships, establishing identity, developing purpose and integrity. We asked 3 questions here. First, how can we help neurodiverse individuals to achieve these developmental milestones? The second question is, what about the people around them, their teachers, their supervisors that can change the environment? And then the third question is, what about the mental health providers? How can we use a more positive approach to help neurodiverse individuals to achieve their developmental milestones? As a quick illustration, how we apply the strength-based model of neurodiversity to neurodiverse individuals is to raise their awareness of personal strengths, increase their trust in personal ability, help them with engaging in relationships, and increase self-satisfaction through success. This positive approach will move them away from the negativity and immobility, such as anxiety, depression, and executive dysfunction. Using the strength-based model of neurodiversity, we built the Stanford Neurodiversity Project, which is a special initiative of the Psychiatry Department. There are 7 objectives in this Stanford Neurodiversity Project. The first is the most important, is about establishing culture that treasures the strengths of neurodiverse individuals. If we do it right, we can empower the neurodiverse individuals to build their identity based on their strengths and enhance their long-term skills of daily living throughout their lifespan. We want to attract talented neurodiverse individuals to come to Stanford to study and also work. And we also help other partnering organizations to do the same. We train the non-neurodiverse individuals to work with the neurodiverse population and disseminate the model as widely as possible. Ultimately, we want to maximize the potential of neurodiversity, not only for the neurodiverse individuals, but for all of us, because they have so much to bring to the table. Although we are very person-centered, we are also using a very much ecosystem-driven approach. Family, friends around neurodiverse individuals, they are often supported by mentors and therapists. In the educational setting, the teachers, coaches, classmates, roommates can change the environment to make it more neurodiversity friendly. School officials and the rest of the school community can also add to this opportunity. Employment setting, similarly, the supervisors, job coaches, colleagues can make the workplace more neurodiversity friendly. And the executives and the work community can also do the same at a different level. And all of this can change the culture of the organization where the neurodiverse individual will be part of. We have 3 initiatives: neurodiversity awareness and education, neurodiversity at work and wellness, and neurodiversity independent living skills initiative. We have a few programs embedded in these initiatives, and I'll quickly talk about the neurodiversity at work program. The first objective of this neurodiversity at work program is to cultivate the concept of the strength-based model in organizations and use that as the basis to help managers and the team to learn about working with neurodiverse individuals. We also get the neurodiverse individuals ready for work and also support the employers and neurodiverse employees throughout the entire employment cycle. Just like any work program, there are 2 parts. We have the candidates and we have the jobs and the employers. So we have a candidate registry that include our job candidates, and if they are job ready, they are going to be going to the metric pool. If they are not, then they go to pre-employment training or internship, and then they can come back to us. On the other hand, corporations such as Google, DPR, and other partnering organizations would contribute their openings to the job bank, and especially when they are neurodiversity friendly. If they are not neurodiversity friendly yet, we can help the organizations to make their workplace more neurodiversity friendly. And then we work with them to make to level the playing field for the neurodiverse individuals. On one hand, we are helping neurodiverse individuals in the job search process. On the other hand, we are also helping employers in the recruitment process through position counseling, awareness training, best practice training, and even building the neurodiversity friendly environment before onboarding. After onboarding, we also help the employers as well as the neurodiverse individuals in the transition period. Each neurodiverse individual will be supported by 2 support circles. The workplace support circle has team manager, human resource manager, team buddy, and the neurodiversity at work mentor, which are supported by a coach from our team. And also another coach is helping the neurodiverse individual and the other members of the other support circle, the personal life support circle, which include family and personal counselor. So with this, I would like to summarize and say neurodiverse individuals have so much to offer to organizations if they are given a chance. They do have specific challenges that can be overcome. We have established a strength-based model that can be implemented in work programs, such as Neurodiversity at Work program. Finally, I'd like to thank you for your attention and congratulate all of you to be part of this conference. I wish you all the best in the next few days. I know you're going to gain a lot from this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fung. It was an amazing, interesting, and a very insightful conversation. We are running a little bit ahead of schedule, but I still would like to continue because time is very important for us. So now we are being joined by James Mahoney, COO of Rangam, with a message about autism at work. A brief introduction to James is at Rangam, James oversees the entire gamut of activities in the disability, diversity, and inclusion space. Before becoming a part of Rangam, James was the executive director and head of autism at work at Jpmorgan Chase, where he oversaw programs to identify roles for people with autism spectrum as well as that would add value. Before joining Rangam, James has held various leadership positions in the technology and business sectors, spanning a career of nearly 3 decades. Having said all that, I'd like to welcome James. Thank you so much for joining us, James, and thank you so much for doing this at such an early time at your place. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dara, and good evening to all our friends in India. And thanks to our colleagues around the world helping pull this together. We welcome you to the first SourceAbled Inclusive India Summit. Thanks, Soumya, for the ISL interpretation as well. I'm going to tell a little story and hopefully weave this together as we launch the first day of the summit. Once upon a time, I think people thought in order to help people with disabilities, we'd focus on accessibility. And we were limited in a way insofar as we only looked at in a sympathetic fashion instead of empathetic fashion. How can we help those disabilities which we see? And largely that was limited to people with physical disabilities that you could observe, sight impairment, hearing impairment, etc. And so we focused first on really creating accessibility options, bigger doorways, automated doorways, braille on elevators, maybe closed captioning. And thankfully, the world has evolved not only to encompass more types of people with disabilities, but not be limited to accessibility. Instead, to really graduate to inclusion and opportunity and support at different journeys across the life cycle of employment in our example. And so as I think of that, it's a good thing that we're really trying to get a broader reach in a broader set of things that help. And I think it moves us from being sympathetic to empathetic. And more importantly, we're promoting belonging as a society. And this is going across the world. We're thinking bigger, and that's a beautiful thing. I'll tell you a story about Jpmorgan Chase, where I came from prior to joining Rangam, where we did try to think of an extended talent pool in the form of people with autism. And our first 4 hires did not have their college degrees, nor did they have a real rich work experience. Nonetheless, they provided extremely valuable business results. And so we saw that opportunity. We based it on a premise of talent. It paid off for us, certainly, the organization, but also for the individuals. As that program grew to many, many people, I lost count of the number of people who gained a self-confidence, who were self-advocates, who went on to live independently or get a driver's license or be in a relationship for the first time. So we saw that human value. It didn't come, however, just by hiring people, right? It came by making sure that there was a support network. And you saw some of that in Dr. Fung's presentation, the support circles, buddy systems, very specific instructions being given by the manager. And those are all important because if you remember, I said we started making things accessible. Then companies focused on, we'll hire people, and that's including them. But the real inclusion begins when you start to build that omnidirectional way of supporting people and universal in design, that it's not just including people who are different, who have disabilities, who have neurodivergence, but it really works for everyone. And so that's the spirit of how we approach it, not just in my former company, but also at Rangam. We really try to promote that holistic, universal support mechanism and system. And so as I joined Rangam, I was thrilled at the opportunity to not just focus on finance and technology roles, but across new industries. And importantly, and I think this is true in India as it is in the US, ultimately create programs that reach not just urban centers of population, but reach far into the rural areas, and reach deeper into the spectrum of talent that is neurodiversity. So again, I hope you're encouraged by the opportunity of this summit, by the opportunities within the summit. I encourage you to be self-advocates, to keep learning, to keep challenging. You're in a great driver's seat as we look at the new economy, partly as a result of COVID. You know, I think you have more control than ever. There are so many open jobs, but many more people, and that's going to that divide is going to get more pronounced over time. I think by 2030, it's estimated that there'll be 87 million open or more jobs than people in the world. And that's just an amazing opportunity for you. You are in the driver's seat. Again, self-advocacy, ask for what you need at all stages, interview, working, and ongoing. Thank you again for joining, and I hope you have a great summit. Take care.
Thank you so very much, James. Thank you so much that you took time and you were so generous with your time to come and join us on this session. As you truly said, empathy is all that matters. We are running a little bit ahead of schedule. So what we are going to do is we are going to take a short break. Everybody's going to grab a glass of water, and we'll all meet back here in about like 13 minutes so that we are back on schedule and we'll end on schedule. I hope that works for everybody. Thank you so much, and thank you for being so patient. We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much.
Mommy?
Thank you all. We are back. Thank you for being so patient with all of us, and thank you for your time. We are back with our final session. It is a corporate showcase hosted by and moderated by Nish Parikh. So I'll let Mr. Nish Parikh take it from here. Nish, sir, thank you.
Thank you, Dara. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you all of you for joining us today. Thanks, James and Dr. Fung, for setting such an insightful and thought-provoking message. We truly appreciate your work and contribution to the autism and disability community, truly globally. Hello again, hello everyone. Welcome to Corporate Showcase as part of SourceAble Inclusive India Summit. As we all know, there are many participants in the disability, diversity, and inclusion space who help bring about a change. Today, I'm joined with three guests who truly are the change makers in their own space. And the way I can describe these three pillars, it starts with upskilling to employment, and then very unique approach of building a network of entrepreneurs. We all know that people with disability, they have all different kinds of abilities, and it is how we tap into their abilities, their strength, as James mentioned earlier. How do we tap into their strength and help them build these different models of employment? So with that, I'm delighted to have Dr. Jitendra Agrawal, founder of Sarthak Educational Trust. He's a seasoned veteran, and through Sarthak, he has been working towards the empowerment of people with disabilities. I'm also joined by Elizabeth Newell, director of Keystone Institute India, who has more than 30 years of experience in various aspects of developmental programs. Last but definitely not least, we have Mahavir Sharma ji, the chair of TIE India Angel, who has been part of team business and the social organization. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the summit.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Now let's go around the guest and let's learn more about their work, their amazing initiatives, programs, solutions in the area of disability inclusion. Jitendra ji, let's start with you.
Okay. So I'll brief about what we do, Nish Parikh ji.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nish Parikh ji, for organizing such a wonderful summit. And it's basically for neurodiversity. I think this is a very important subject, and I think as far as India is concerned, I think very few corporates hire people with neurodiversity. So it's more interesting for Indian participants also. So basically, to start with Sarthak, actually, I was a practicing dentist till 2004. I used to do dentistry, but in 2004, because of macular degeneration, I lost my vision. And 2004 to 7, when I was going through that phase, I realized challenge faced by people with disability in India, because till 2007-8, I think not a single Indian corporate was ready to hire people with disability. They were not aware how to hire and where to hire. And as a professional, I thought to contribute for this cause, and where that we founded then Sarthak in 2008. And the whole idea was of starting Sarthak was to give livelihood to people with disability, because when I personally realized challenge faced by me, then what about people with disability all across India? So then we founded Sarthak. So initially, when we started Sarthak from 2008 to 13, 5 years of our journey, we work on two principles. One was demand creation in the market, and second was supply chain of people with disability. So as far as demand creation is concerned, so it was really tough initially to convince people, corporate houses to hire people with disability. So we started with few BPOs, and then it was like stakeholder roundtable conference. They were converted for with retail, hospitality, IT. So like that, the conversion started from 2008 to 13. And for supply chain, for people with disability, there was no structured database available with the government and with the NGOs. So we traveled from Srinagar to Chennai and from Ahmedabad to Guwahati by organizing 100 job fairs and inviting corporates to interact with people with disability. So by 2013, like 2013, I think around 60,000 people with disability, and this include all disability, people with physical disability, hearing impairment, and people with visual impairment. They participated in the job fairs. Out of 60,000, 3,000 got the job. And then we realized what is the challenge, why not 57,000? And during our research, we found that skill set of people with disability is not matching with the market requirement, and we have to plan a structured training program for people with disability. So
Great.
2014, then we started structured training program in partnership with National Skill Development Corporation and other foundations. So 2014 to 2022 till date, around you can say 8 years of our journey, we operates in around 15 states of India. We run 25 centers, and 35,000 youth with disability, with God grace, are empowered now. Not a single corporate in India. 2008, now we have around 2,000 corporate houses with whom we work very much. And now the challenge is reverse. Like demand is very high in the market for people with disability. Supply chain, we are working aggressively. So the challenge of supply chain. So that's why we are aggressively expanding our training centers and partnering with the local NGO in their local geography. So this is
Yeah.
a brief that we do, Nish Parikji. Thank you very
No,
much.
that's so true. Supply is the challenge, and that's where organization like Sarthak is doing amazing job in preparing these individuals, because we know people with disability are looking for job, and they are there in our society. In the United States, talking about US, 1 out of 5 has some kind of a visible or invisible disability, and now latest numbers are 1 out of 4. So we know that now, it's just a matter. So thank you for doing amazing job. I would like to move next to Elizabeth. If you can share your background and tell us a little bit about your journey and some of your activities.
Absolutely. Well, it's such a wonderful thing to be amongst all of you this evening, and I'm in good company tonight. So glad for the invitation and glad to be here. I do serve as the Executive Director of Keystone Institute India. We've worked in India for about the past 6 years, really working hard to fuel the movement towards an inclusive India where everybody has a place at the table. I mean, that is our passion and our vision, and our job is to work with NGOs, to work with government, to work with parent groups in particular and advocates around giving people tools for inclusive practice. And that covers sort of all life spheres. We work around responsive residential supports, which are fully inclusive. We work around the ideas of customized employment, and the person-centeredness that we've heard about in other parts of this conference already, but also the tools of person-centeredness as well. And our main goal is to work away from segregation and congregation of people with disability altogether, tucked away across society, and instead look for ways that build an opportunity for us to learn to be together. So we do our work through consultation, through workshops, through talent spotting, through mentoring, leadership development, program design and supports. We have developed some model programs across India, but much of what we do is capacitate and build leaders. We try to bring the NGO community together, working on a higher level than keeping their organizations thriving, but really linking together over our common goal, which is high order. It's if we can figure out how people with disability can be a part of everyday life in India, we can probably figure this out for all of us. Yeah. So it's a wonderful space to be working in. we've had great commitment and are working hard to create inclusive practice with a focus on people with developmental and intellectual disability. I mean, that in many ways has been my work throughout my career with Keystone, both in the US, in Central and Eastern Europe, and now in India. And we feel that of all the groups of people with disability, it is people with significant impact of intellectual disability and developmental disability who've been left in the rooms, you know, candle making and working on crafts and doing, you know, things almost in the dark in a way. They have been the folks that we haven't been able to say, to answer the question, can everyone work? Do we believe that everyone can work?
Yeah.
And that's a question. And we happen to believe that. So that's our focus, but it certainly has a cross disability. I mean, we consider ourselves a cross disability organization as well. So that's a little bit of Keystone Institute India.
That is so powerful. I love you mentioned learn to be together, right? Now that together is how we define together. Together, NGOs, corporations, the disability community, people with disability, people without disabilities, school, educators, universities. How can we learn to be together? And your work in the area of developmental and intellectual disability, that's where Rangam's focus is also. We all know that almost about over 70% of the disability in United States is invisible disability. 30% is something which we can see, people visible disability. So this is the area where, as a workforce solution company, and again, this is the perfect, I would call that, like-minded, passionate individuals who is talking the same language with same passion, with the same goal in mind. So thank you again for all your great work, and I would love to continue the conversation. I would like to now move next to Mahavirji. Please share your initiatives. I am myself as an entrepreneur. I love what you have been doing and would love to learn more. So please tell us your journey and your work in entrepreneurship, area of entrepreneurship.
Thanks, Nish, and congratulations to everyone behind the SourceAbled initiative. I think it's a great initiative to get all these great people together. Obviously, I'm the odd man out here in the sense that I'm the recipient of the talent that all the people that are disabled in a way have. And I think there is a lot of work, while, as Dr. Agarwal mentioned, that there's a supply chain issue and improving their workability is a critical element. I think education in the corporate world and telling them how to optimize the use of a person who is challenged. I mean, quite honestly, if you ask me, I feel all of us are challenged. I mean, I have certain shortcomings, and that's a challenge as it comes with me. And I think whenever there is some sort of a physical or a mental disability, there are certain things that are much more creative. And I think I have seen that happen across the entrepreneurial ecosystem. For someone who lacks vision, has a much higher ability to listen, or can be a great technology person. I have seen people with mental disabilities who are very creative, and they can be part of a UI UX for a technology company, and they can sit in the back end and do so much of work, and be so creative. And in the technology world, as all of you know, there's a huge attrition. I mean, there's a huge transformation of people going from one company to the other, 30 to 40%. And I think if you can set the supply chain right, and if based upon what everyone has or doesn't have, if we can make them stronger in what they're able to do, I think they will be a huge asset. And not only just for one company or one startup or one corporate, but for the entire ecosystem. And I don't see any reason why they should be um, treated differently or treated in a different manner. And they should be mainstream, um, people wanting to hire them, people wanting to partner with them. And that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that I have seen great startup stories great unicorns come out of people, co-founders who have gone through a tough life. I mean, I've seen people who've not been able to, who've lost families or through to cancer, have come up with devices or processes on cancer. So I think there's a huge development in the startup ecosystem where a few of us, a few of the people who are challenged in one way or the other can get together and create technologies. We are looking at many technologies that are helping physical disabilities to the most part. But I think there is a huge market, and as you rightly said, Nish, the visible and the invisible, disabilities. We need to improve and enhance those ecosystems, and that's a huge market in itself. And I'm sure impact funding. I mean, and there's no dearth of social impact funding coming their way. I mean, and that's the way to get going and to set an example and move forward. And that's where my role as an angel investor, as a part of an organization called TIE, which is spread across 60 chapters across the globe, to come together and work in partnership. And I don't want to use the word support. I don't want to use anything that would not put us at par. I would rather want to work in partnership. And how can we take and enable everyone together and move forward? And that's what I do, and that's what my role here should be, I think. Thank you.
No, I love it. I 100% agree with you, Jitendraji. As you said, we all have challenges one or other way. And, it's just a matter of, as Dr. Fung mentioned, that, strength-based model. Now, that strength-based model applied to all of us, right? And one of the thing I learned from one of my professor at Harvard Business School, he said, Nish, when we are talking about autism and people on the spectrum or people with disability or all abilities, how do we focus on individual strength and help them manage their weaknesses, right? So how do we create those processes so their weaknesses are managed? And it's not a charity, it's not in a sympathetic way, because it's all of us. We need that. If it's that the case of the challenges, then we have to be sympathetic to all of us, right? But it's a matter of empathy, how we bring in that empathetic approach towards looking at somebody's challenges and work together, as Elizabeth mentioned, work together to solve that and manage their weaknesses. With that, I would like to move to my first question to Dr. Agrawal. Some of the things which you mentioned briefly, some of your activities in reskilling, because we know that reskilling is very important part in the society when it comes to either neurodiversity, visible disability, or invisible disability. What are the kind of models, maybe a funding models or implementation models you have seen and adopted when it comes to upskilling people with disability in India? Dr.
Okay.
Agrawal.
So, as far as skilling of people with disabilities, yeah.
Yes, please.
I'm audible, Nishji? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. Okay. So as far as skilling of people with disability is concerned, like I mentioned that 2013, when we researched and found out that skill set of people with disability is not matching with the market requirement. So then we started our first skill center in Delhi and then expanded it to around 15 states we operate. So there are 3-4 models that we run in Sarthak for skilling of people with disability. So first program is we call JEET, JEET, so Job, Employment, Entrepreneurship Training for people with disability. So in this program, the age group of the candidates are from 18 to 35 years of age because it's employable age and it caters all disabilities. It's a 3 months program where we have 5-6 trades like in BPO, retail, hospitality, e-commerce, marketing skills. We train people with disability. And 1.5 months of we do basic computer skills, basic English and soft skill, then sectoral training, on-job training, and then there is a placement. So it's a program which is going to no, run when a people with disability is going to come out from a high school or school dropouts or maybe college dropouts, and it's very popular now. Through this program, we have trained around 20,000 youth with disability all across India, and out of which around 16,000 are employed now. The second program that we started last year only is called Digital Literacy Program, and this program is going to cater people with disability who is not eligible for our JEET program. So means that people with disability who are below 10th class, who are maybe above 35 years of age, who are in the rural background, who are struggling, or maybe some entrepreneur but don't know how to scale up their businesses. So this program is very helpful for people with disability who are self-employed, how to you can say operate Facebook or Twitter so that they can scale their businesses. And I have seen stories in last 1.5 year where people are scaled up in their businesses now. And through this program, around 6 to 7,000 youth with all disabilities are empowered now, and it's picking up in especially in the rural part of India where people are illiterate about handling digital devices.
Yeah.
And it's very important for all people with disability to know the technology, know the digital solutions. The third program that we started last year is Campus Connect program, because see, in India we have some mandate from the government of India that there are 4% reservation in universities, in IITs, in IIMs, but still there is, like, after getting out of IIT or getting out of IIM or getting out of a good university, people with disability are not getting jobs also. So currently we work with most of the IITs, most of the IIMs, and most of the universities where people with disability are getting graduated, and then through our Campus Connect program we are doing a fresher course for them and getting employed in the corporate houses. Fourth program that we run specially for people with visually impairment, because for them that technology is little different and we need to have some special computer training program for them. And for that we run special program for visually impaired. And fifth, that is in pipeline for neurodiversity, we are in a process to start special training program for people with neurodiversity. We have done some pilots for people with autism, with lemon tree hotels, with in Down syndrome, with some retail stores, with low mental retardation, with IT companies. But that still pilots are successful now, and we are maybe by April or May we are going to have structured training program for people with neurodiversity.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm very much familiar with your work in the neurodiversity space, so I really admire your taking the lead in that space in preparing individuals. You also mentioned that, even after 4% of reservation for people with disability, some of the well reputed schools, IIM, IBM, IIM, and IIT, students are struggling, and that's not new. That's truly globally. I work very closely with Dr. Fung and his projects. I have seen Stanford graduate students. I have seen graduates from a few other universities, and it's the same challenge. It's education is just one part of when we talk about employability and the job search. That's a universal challenge. So thank you for all sharing some of the amazing models and how you are innovating and constantly building new models for different people with all different disabilities, which is really admirable. I would like to move next. My next question for you, Elizabeth. You have been partnering, and as you rightly said, right, the the connecting people with everyone, learn to be together, and that together we know that partnering with people, partnering with NGOs, which is so critical. And that's what my passion has been, and at Rangam and our at Rangam, where we are constantly partnering with NGOs and providers and experts and universities in United States. How is your experience partnering with NGOs and collaborating so that we can all work together?
So, I mean, our experience has been that organizations are hungry to connect for higher purpose, but we have to give people something to work towards together. And it seems to me that so many NGOs, and particularly since the pandemic has struck, are in such dire survival mode at this point. You really have to have a strong set of transcendent values that keep us together. Because working in silos, trying to keep our organizations alive during tough times, does not lend itself to moving towards a vision where we're all advancing the cause for really lifting up segments of society. We're doing that together, and it really matters. And trying to figure out how to keep that in front of us, even during times of stress, when we tend to kind of batten down our hatches and put walls around our organizations. And many organizations are absolutely competing for funding. They are. I mean, that is a real, in a charity-based system.
Reality. Yeah.
It is a reality. Without significant systemic government funding for services, many organizations really are competing with each other. So the idea is fueling them have to be strong enough to help us jump over that and say, what really matters to us here. And so we found that does work, that we can bind together. I mean, I spend a lot of my time trying to figure out how I can get people to know each other who I think ought to know each other. We say a lot of what I do is introducing people to each other who they ought to know in these little islands of excellence all over India. I mean, there are these amazing, beautiful islands of excellence, who are doing kind of amazing work. They're throwing out the readiness model for people with significant impact of intellectual disability. Like, the readiness model has not worked in 30 years in the US. It doesn't result in jobs for people with intellectual disability. Like, Bhavna's ready to work. We may not be ready for that, but she's ready. I mean, that's sort of the notion, is that by and large people are ready, although the support systems may not be ready. So we found there is a fire in the belly of families of NGOs who, most of whom are also family members of people with significant disability. We have really felt a sense of comradeship, a sense of we are doing important work together, and it has bound us together. The Institute is tiny. There's only 8 employees. And we're very small, but we consider ourselves doing our work through the hearts, hands, and minds of people all over India who want the same things for people with disability and all of us.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. It's that you mentioned something about something like trust, right? When everybody's competing with that funding with the same mission or similar to help somebody, it is challenging. But the way my experience has been, as we partner with similarly NGOs in US, is like, how do we find that common ground where we help each other, where we complement each other, and we are not competing? That's the key. If we can figure that out, which you mentioned that that is in your 30 years of experience you have figured out, and that's the key. How do we all work together? In fact, together word is one of my favorite word, let me tell you, because when I built the technology to teach children with autism, this was in 2007, 10, 2014, in that range, where we got a pretty good a prize from Verizon Powerful Answer Award. The concept was, the child on the autism spectrum is one, and there is a whole community working. How do we all work together? So the tagline was, anytime, anywhere, together. Together is the key. Anytime, anywhere can be done, but together, how do we all speak the same language? How do we collaborate as a community and help that individual, so that individual has a meaningful job, has a success. So thank you for sharing. I would like to move next to Mahavirji, your area of entrepreneurship, some of the things which you have mentioned, impact fund and the whole startup ecosystem. Have you seen any initiatives when it comes to people with disability and entrepreneurship. I have seen some models in US, but any thoughts, anything which you can share?
So I'll tell you, and as I said in my opening remarks, physical disability and medical devices is fast, assisting. Vision issues, hearing issues, movement issues. There are many companies who are doing great work and great devices. Either sometimes the co-founders have gone through that journey, or there someone from their family has been there, and that's what creates a story and a passion that the co-founders need. And I think their medical devices for especially physical disabilities are quite a few. And I'll tell you, in the next 3 to 4 years, I think with AI and embedded devices, IoT devices, you will see mental disabilities also being eradicated, or making them neutral in terms of how all of us are. That's what I think. And I think technology is very fast, very advanced, and moving very quickly. It's the knowledge that one needs to gain, whether you are disabled or not. That's going to come handy tomorrow, because communication, or putting some things across in whatever way, whatever medium, whether through technology, whether orally, whether through work and design, it is not a problem that all of us have. We all have that in our inherent. That imparting of that and getting that across to the person, to the customer, to the buyer, to whoever your person is not going to be difficult. Technology will enable that, and it's just a matter of few years. And I'm already seeing that. I'm already feeling that. I mean, a few days ago, Elon Musk said that they're trying to do something where a chip will be embedded in your. So things will move very fast. I think technology is a pretty um, uh, big leveler. And I think, as you've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, we've done journey of the last 50 years as far as advancement and innovation is concerned. So I'm very happy. We're looking at many medical devices companies as investments. We can go into details, but I personally feel that it's not a challenge. And if and Sumit asked on the chat whether, when do we look at a lower valuation when someone is challenged? Absolutely not. I mean, people come to me that if someone has gone to MIT or IIT, and do they get a better chance at raising? It's not that. It's the team. It's what you're good at. It's what you're doing. It's the timing that you're at, and if you are the right people to do the right thing. That's all that matters. I don't see you should be challenged or be fearing that you will not get the valuation, or you will not get what you deserve. And I think that's something that it's all up here, and that should go. And I'm happy to help in whatever way I can in terms of mentoring and handholding and telling them what they are doing right and how they should sell or project themselves when they're trying to raise money.
No, that's absolutely a great Maharji. The challenge. You are absolutely right. How do you have a solution? You have an idea. How do we sell this? How do we represent your idea in a way so that the investor is comfortable and has that trust? So it's all about your approach, your laser focus ness, your team. But one another thing you mentioned about innovation and technology in the assistive technology space, along with Stanford and Dr. Fung, we have several other partnerships with UCLA. Recently, we are talking to Stephen Institute of Technology, Stony Brook University, and some of the amazing projects of innovation, which is again with the technology background, that has been my passion. So we are working with some of these research organizations, and it's just amazing. One of the professor I'm working with, she's using a device because she's handicapped below the face, below the neck, and she's using a keyboard, which is kind of a digital keyboard. You put it in the mouth, and through that she's typing and teaching students. So some of the amazing innovations are happening also in the robotics arm space, where how do we help individuals be more comfortable in their working space, as well as in some cases how do we help them be more productive and do different kind of activities with physical disability. So that's a wonderful a conversation and great work you are doing mentoring entrepreneurs. I would like to ask Dr. Agrawal, what are the latest policies, reforms in the disability space? I'm aware one of the things which we have just added neurodiversity and autism as part of the disability list of disabilities. What are the other things happening in that space?
Okay, so as far as India is concerned, so I think 2015, Indian government have Accessible India campaign. So I think when we talk about railway stations, our airports and bus stops and things are not accessible. So the whole idea of that launching that Accessible India campaign to have all the public places accessible for people with disability. But as you know, in India, that government is there, but still, I think whatever targets were there in by 2022, still we are slowly approaching to them. The second thing came in 2016 was a national action plan for people with disability and the target of training 22 lakhs people with disability by 2022. But still, that under that process is slow. I think 2016, the another thing came is new right of persons with disability bill. Because see, earlier we used to Indian government used to recognize only 7 disability, but now we have 21 disability accepted by government of India. So this is a very important bill that was passed in the Indian Parliament, and now that is there on the implementation stage. Still things are improving, but you can say that that was an important decision as far as Indian government is concerned. And overall, if we see Indian government is inclined to people with disability, but as you know, the policies, the scheme, there are different schemes, maybe 500 schemes for different disability, but things are slow. But as you know, bureaucracy and government, how they run. But as far as technology is concerned, I think we are moving very fast. I think as far as Sarthak is concerned, like we have a huge populations of people with disability. I think World Bank says 10 to 15%, WHO same. So we have around 10 crore to 15 crore people with disability. So then we decided how to approach each disabled, how to provide services. So we recently came last year with a mobile app called Cap Sarthi, and this app is having all the information starting from 1 year to 60 years of disability, starting from government schemes to rehabilitation centers to vocational training centers and employment. And any disabled person who can come and register, it's free of cost, providing services to all age groups. So this is a important, and this came during COVID, because COVID was challenging for us in India as far as people with disability was concerned. So this mobile app, I think, gave hopes to people with disability. Similarly, we came up with a job portal, accessible job portal called Rozgar Sarthi, where all the jobs that government, PSUs, and people with disability are there in the job. So technological innovation is happening, and I think a lot of you can say IITians are coming with newer innovations, newer technology, and that's why we are in a process now to have a global resource center in Gurugram now, so that this technology that which our innovators are innovated can be adopted by business. Because I have seen innovators from IIT struggling with for the marketing thing. I think Mahavir ji know better than me, but still I have seen innovators creating prototypes of these products, very wonderfully. But I think marketing or business is not going to take this project. So we are in a process to have a bridge between these innovators and the manufacturers. So hopefully we will come up with some solutions.
No, that is absolutely, that hope is very important as we all talk in these settings and always in other events. I've been hearing this from everywhere that things are rapidly changing, getting better and better. In fact, I was just talking to someone at Rangam, and we were talking about some of the programs we are working in partnership with universities. And she mentioned, Nish, I wish this was there when I was in college, right? So, and I'm constantly hearing that, and that's all credit goes to all the work you guys do, and contribute to the disability community. I would like to move my next question to Elizabeth. As you are working with these with the community employers, and we know that in last 2 years in United States things have changed, in India also, I would like to learn and understand, see what your thoughts are, how this non-traditional career path are for people with disability is working, and how you are working with employers, and what kind of response you are getting from employers.
So thanks, Nish. I would just say that much of the work we do is highly person-centered, and that's much of the work that we promote. And so we really teach processes like developing a really deep knowledge of who's in your community and helping people with disability almost walk the landscape, literally go out and see what is in the community and approach it with a mindset of very consistent with Dr. Fung's presentation is what does this person have to offer? What is the giftedness that this person might be able to bring? And then what's needed in my community?
Yeah.
And that those questions, especially for people with more significant impairments where there's going to need to be a lot of adaptation. It is about, I respect and honor the work of skill building on a massive scale. I think that is so powerful and wonderful. And I also respect the idea that organizations need to think and refashion and re-engineer positions, and the skills required to do that are the skills of business needs right now, to be flexible, to have people know how to do each other's jobs, to carve out pieces of people's jobs and give them to other people, that dynamism within an organization is healthy. And it's also going to be required. It's part of the skill set that will be required in employing people with more significant disabilities, the adaptations, and they're going to be very individualized. So we work to help those who are supporting job seekers to work with employers, to carve out, to take a look at the job, but also to discover what the person has to offer and to build our social capital. That is so key. We work in a lot of areas where there's really tight neighborhood and social connections. And if we can tap into that sets the groundwork to begin to negotiate jobs for individual people, to make introductions. So that's the totally respecting the other large scalable approaches, sort of this notion of giving people the walk around skills to help figure out what employers need, figure out what people with disabilities need, and make those matches, and then do the hard work of engineering it so that the person is able to offer that capacity, that gift that they have, and the employer is able to make the most of it.
Absolutely. No, I love it. That matches and that engineering, that, how do we connect the talent, where organizations like Sarthak has been putting some, efforts in building this talent. Now, the next step is, how do we prepare the organizations and employers so that they are also flexible and they have those considerations in place? So, in our experience, Elizabeth, we have seen every organization, and I'm pretty sure you must have seen, and I would like to get your thoughts, that every organization is different. As you mentioned, it's individualized for individuals, individualized for the organizations also. So what are your thoughts, how you are tackling those? Because I'm pretty sure you must have heard, oh, this is not how we work. Now, how do we tackle that when we are doing this matching?
One of the lovely powerhouses we have is the power of the diversity and equity movement, and the emergence of the practice of an organization saying, here are our values. Most organizations at this point have stated core values that could be simply marketing, but they could be real. And so the opportunity to let employers walk in their values by the way that they treat their employees, by the kind of workplace culture, like that's just good business. But it also gets your entire workforce engaged in your values, which probably include diversity and equity, which probably include treating people well, creating a better world, whatever those values are. You get to walk it in your work. That's going to make for a healthy work environment for everybody. And so I think that's our best, that's our ace in the hole, is that we have organizations claiming and professing such high order values. And this is an opportunity to live it and to let everybody see at every level of the organization that you believe it and that you live it, and you're about a lot more than making widgets and making money.
Love it, love it. It looks like just a quick time check. We are almost the top of the hour, and I would like to, before we conclude, last thought. I would like to start with Mavirji. If you can share your last thoughts on how disability and inclusive society is making progress, and what is the future looks like.
I think the future looks like we might not have to have this conference to tell people what can be done and how should it be done. And I'm really looking forward to that future. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
And I just believe we have so much to learn from the inclusion of people with disability that might just create a world, figure out how to beat it. And we do need that these days.
Thank you. Dr. Agrawal?
Yeah, I think they are right, Mahavirji and Elizabeth. So things have started moving very fast. I think when we talk about 2008 and 2020, there is total transformation now. Hiring of people with disability is a accepted thing now. It's not charity; it's a business for corporate houses. And I think in coming years, I think we'll discuss not about all these things, but maybe about further advancement of this subject. So it's a golden era for people with disability, and hopefully I think all people with disability on this globe will be empowered in coming years.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Agrawal. With your very positive note, I would like to conclude this session. Before I conclude my session or our session today, I would also like to thank James Mahoney for sharing your dream or expanding impact from urban to rural area all over the world for employment for people with disability, bringing transforming sympathetic approach to empathetic approach towards building the inclusive workforce, work environment, highlighting the impact on the business result through the Autism at Work program, holistic universal support system, how Rangam and other organizations like Elizabeth and Dr. Agrawal's organizations are working towards building that environment. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Fung for the collaboration. We appreciate you sharing the strength-based model and Neurodiversity at Work program, Stanford Neurodiversity project, and some of the best practices and some of the amazing research. With that, thank you all for really your time and your contribution to the society overall, and would love to continue this conversation in coming months and years. With that, back to you, Dara. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And we will continue this conversation next 6 days.